is the Rangers Journal night.
Good evening and welcome to the latest episode of the Rangers Journal. Something a bit different for you tonight. So with us, we've got Redian from Albanian Football on Twitter. You've probably already seen he did an excellent thread on Nedim Bajrami, who, of course, is the number 10 signing we made on the last day of the window. Redian, how you doing, mate?
I'm very good. Thank you very much for inviting me on, and I'm looking forward to speaking about my compatriot.
Brilliant, and thank you very much for taking the time to come on. It really is appreciated. So I'm just going to launch straight into it then, mate. Obviously, as I said, we signed this guy just about the last minute of the window, to be fair. We've needed a 10, I would say, all window. And I think he's very much been bought in with that position in mind. So I guess firstly, do you just want to tell folk what kind of traits does Bajrami have that stand out? What is it that fans should actually look for when we see him on the pitch?
Well, yes. What we are gonna be looking for with Nedim Bajrami is a guy who always performs when he is most needed. He's the guy who takes the game by the scruff of the neck, and he is not afraid of any opposition or any team. I think when you speak about Rangers, you always have to speak also about Celtic, and I think he's gonna excel at trying to catch up to Celtic, which has been a bit of a problem for Rangers, I can tell, the last couple of years.
Yeah, and I think if he can accomplish that, then I think it will be very, very welcome with the fans. So just to confirm, and I get caught like this all the time, you says, what's the actual pronunciation for his name?
Yes, I think there was a guy on Twitter who asked me, but I cannot send voice messages, so it's good you asked. Nedim is very straightforward. It's just Nedim. Bajrami is Bajrami. So I know people from Britain like to say J, but this is like more of a Y sound. So Bajrami.
Bajrami. Okay.
Yes.
I will endeavour to remember that. I make no promises.
No problem.
So just looking at the number 10 position at Rangers, the last couple of 10s we've had have been very kind of stylistically different. We had Tom Cantwell, who was, probably a bit of a flair player, is the best way to describe him. More recently, we've been playing Tom Lawrence in that position. He's probably a little less athletic, a little more kind of technical, I guess. How does Bajrami compare to this? Where does he fit in that order?
Bajrami, I would say he's very much of a modern number 10 player, because he's a number 10 who can play through the middle, but he can easily play as like an inverted winger, or play where he starts on the left side and then cuts into the right and dictates the play with his right foot from there. So he's very athletic. He has a big work ethic, and overall he has all the qualities you need from a number 10, with his technical abilities, his work ethic, as I just said, and his technical abilities that really can open up a game.
That's brilliant, and that actually leads quite nicely into the next couple of questions. So you mentioned basically he's not afraid to get stuck in. I think one of the criticisms that we've had as a team, perhaps a bit lately, is some of the defending from the front hasn't been great. Is that something that he's quite accomplished in, would you say?
I would 100% say it's actually one of his most underrated abilities, because he used to play in Switzerland, where he's born and raised, where he got his football education through Grasshoppers. And that's a team where, they care about collective football. They care about no one standing out, but everybody putting in their shift. Yeah. And ever since he was a young child, he learned that. Then he also went to Italy, where he played for Sassuolo and for Empoli. And of course, when you play in Italy, you are not going to play a single minute if you don't track back. You defend with 11 and you attack with 11. So it's actually something he's very good at. And with a work ethic like his and a professionalism just like his, is not going to be a problem at all.
Brilliant. And when it comes to pace, would you say he's quite a pacey player, or is it more he uses his football brain to kind of be in the right place at the right time?
He for sure uses his football brain. That's a no-brainer if you want to make a pun there.
Oh dear. I think I think we saw that quite well actually. That goal. I mean, it's probably the goal everyone mentions when it comes to him, but that goal in Italy, he just drifted in. Or sorry,
Yeah,
not in Italy, against Italy, drifted in behind the defender and just right place to pick up that throw in.
he was at the right place at the right time. And some people always like to say that's lucky when somebody scores a rebound. It's lucky, but it's also about being at the right place and knowing when to be at the right place. Furthermore, I would say he's not a pacey guy like who will sprint past every single opposition, but I would say he's actually quicker with the ball than without the ball, because when
Okay.
when he gets the ball, he takes so many small touches in different directions and weaving in and out of everyone, that is so hard to catch him because you have to switch direction with him, of course. So when he has the ball, he makes these driving runs forward that are just impossible to defend sometimes.
And I know from your thread you've mentioned obviously that he can play kind of other positions across the attacking line. I was having a look online as well, and it says that he has played a very small amount of games in centre mid. Would you say 10's his absolute best position, and he can fill in the other ones, or is he actually quite accomplished across all of these?
I would say his absolute best position, yes, it is a number 10 role. His second best position would be like an inverted winger, like I just said, on the left, not so much on the right. He can play the number 8 role, and the reason why he has played it is because he played in some systems and formations where they didn't actually play with the 10. So he had to, be a bit pragmatic about it, and he did put in a shift, but it's definitely not his best position. He's good at tracking back, but he's not that good at being a defender. If you understand what I mean.
Yeah, that makes sense. Okay, one, I mean, we've already kind of slightly touched on this, but one of the main things about Rangers is there's a huge pressure. Pretty much, you lose a game, it's a disaster. Now, obviously, the last couple of clubs he's played in at Italy have been a bit more lower down the league, probably, fighting bottom end as opposed to top.
Yeah.
Do you think that's something that he will handle quite well?
Yeah, I mean, to be honest, there were a lot of people in the Albanian media who don't really follow Scottish football that much, who were criticizing why he was going to go to Rangers and not a bigger team in Italy or a bigger team in Europe. But I think it's actually a perfect move for him, because as a number 10, it's much better to play in a team that are expected to win and dominate for 90% of the time and have the ball and have possession, than to play for a team in Italy where you're going to be defending for like 60-70% of the game. So I think it's going to suit him perfectly. And he's, as I said, a guy who loves the pressure, and he really performs under pressure. So when people are expecting him to create something or expect him to score an important goal, that's where he excels. That's where he thrives.
That will be very useful just after turn of the new year, when we have our return against those that shall not be named.
Yeah.
So looking at his career trajectory then, obviously you've mentioned he went Grasshoppers over to Italy, played for Empoli, played for Sassuolo. How has his development looked alongside that? Because I imagine, they're quite different leagues. Have you seen that growth? And I guess the important question for Rangers fans, do you see him continuing to grow whilst he's here?
Yes, of course, football isn't linear at all. There are ups and downs. Sometimes they go exponentially up, sometimes they go really far down. His time as Grasshoppers was quite linear. He just became better as he came through the ranks. Then he went to Empoli. At Empoli, he also just had some very good seasons where he scored some fantastic goals, long shots, free kicks, smart goals, great assists. That was good for him. Then they got relegated. He went to Sassuolo. and he had a very, very hard time. He didn't even play much of last season because the coach simply didn't fancy him. So that was a bad season. I think he really needs to up his game, and he needs this move to get to the best of, version of him.
Yeah, and I think sometimes that coach has a massive sway on a player. Again, one of our previous tens, Todd Cantwell, was he was quite good under the coach that signed him. New coach came in, didn't seem to work. So I think it is definitely fair to say there's a bit of variance there.
Yes.
Just looking at his goals, so he's got, according to the stats online, he's got 59 goals across 356 games, 324 starts. Do you think he's more of a scorer or creator, or as I'm sure everyone wants to hear, is he a bit of everything?
I think he is definitely more of a scorer, to be honest. He does like to do the nice passes, the nice crosses, but he's never shy of taking a long shot. Whenever he sees just a little bit of room, he's gonna try and score, and he's really good at it. So you cannot really blame him. Why not just take a shot when you have the chance? He scored many good goals. I know the goal against Italy was inside the box, but it's against one of the best keepers in the world, and he just twats it in the roof of the net. It's not bad.
Yeah, it was a nice one, actually, that one. Just looking at how he's going to fit into this side. So the current Rangers manager, Philippe Clement, he's quite a fan of structure. He wants his team to kind of move as one, work as one, attack as one, defend as one, as we touched on in Bajrami's early days at Grasshoppers. Do you think that suits his game still?
Yes, 100%. Also, when he plays for the Albanian national team, we don't dominate every single game. Nowadays, we have started dominating a bit of weaker opposition, but he's still really good at just linking up with his teammates and doing the dirty work, as you need to do as every player of the team. It doesn't matter if you're a striker or a center back; you have to play as one, attack with 11 and defend with 11, and yeah, he definitely does that.
Okay, and again, just sort of sticking with the setup, would you say 4-2-3-1 is probably the most suited setup for him, or do you think there's kind of other ways that can be played? I mean, you did mention he maybe wasn't as proficient as an 8.
Yes, I think it depends. Sometimes formations are different when you actually go into the game. But if we're strictly speaking about formations, I would say 4-2-3-1 is perfect for him. He can also play in a 4-3-3 with 2 8s, where he gets a bit of more of a leeway to roam easily. But if he has too many defensive responsibilities, then you're not going to get the best out of him, and that would just be a shame for the team and for him.
Absolutely. And just touching on Alexander's comment here, so he's hope Bajrami is ready to play, has no issues with fitness. Is he good to go as far as you know?
Yes, he's good to go. He's going to play with Albania against Georgia and against Ukraine. And as far as injury history, which is very important for every player, I didn't want to include it in my thread because there's nothing. He's had 5 times where he's been absent. 4 of the times have been because of coronavirus and influenza.
Wow.
You see,
Wow.
only
Okay,
once something because of an ankle. 1 game. That's good.
That will be music to most Rangers fans' ears. We've had a bit of a battle with injuries over the last few years, so here's hoping that continues for as long as it can. Just going to put you on the spot here. If you had to compare him to another pro that potentially is a bit more well known than Bajrami was before he moved here, who do you think he's most like stylistically?
Does it have to be a Rangers player?
No.
I don't want people to think I rate him at the same level. Stylistically, he is a bit of a Kevin De Bruyne because he's good with both feet. He likes to shoot. He's good at crossing, and De Bruyne can also play sometimes as an 8. He's not at the same level. I'm not trying to say that before people come after me.
All right, that's it. You've ruined it now.
Yeah, I know. But yes, that type of player, I would say.
Brilliant. Yeah, let's face it, if he's 60-70% of De Bruyne, I think most Rangers fans will be absolutely delighted with
Even
that.
20%, I think, is going to be enough.
Yeah, yeah. Just lastly then, do we know much about his career ambitions? Where he kind of wants to end up? You hear a lot of players saying, I'm coming here because I want to go to the EPL. Is there anything like that he's mentioned before?
To be honest, he's a very very humble guy. His humility is very apparent. He never creates any issues, and he never really speaks like an arrogant guy, which is also very good for any club. I would say you need players like that. I don't think he only comes to Rangers just to get a move away. He comes to Rangers because he believes he's gonna provide something good for Rangers. He always has very good relations with the fans. I've never seen any fans actually be after him, even in Sassuolo where he didn't perform that well. So his ambitions, of course, if he could go to a very big club, he would like to go to. But Rangers are also a gigantic club. If he can play in the Europa League and do well with them, I think we'll be very, very content with that.
That's really good, really good. Again, a lot of times in recent years, you get the kind of stepping stone talk. So it's quite nice, actually, as you say, just to have someone that's content to be here and play for the fans. So that's kind of all I wanted to cover. But I wanted to give you a bit of an opportunity. Is there anything else that you think the Rangers fans would want to know or should know about Bajrami?
I think what is actually most important for Rangers fans is something we have already touched upon, is the fact that he's going to give his 100% every single time. He's not going to shy away from any game, be it a League Cup game or be it the Old Firm. He's simply going to try his best, and he's gonna play for the fans. He plays for the people. He plays for the fans. He doesn't play for himself, and that's I think one of the best attributes you can have as a human and as a player.
Yeah, and to be fair, from what you've said, I don't think it will take him an awful long time to endear himself to those fans in the stands.
I don't think.
Just lastly then, as I mentioned, Redian here is obviously the main driver of Albanian football on Twitter. Do you want to give yourself a bit of a plug, give your channel a bit of a plug whilst you're on?
Yes, of course. Why not? It's a very good opportunity. You can see my handle right here, wherever it is. Join the channel. Go on Twitter. Follow me, like, and interact. I'm very active on there. I interact with everything. And if you like Albanian football, clubs where players are, I would love to speak with as many Rangers fans as possible, because I want to know more about the team, even though I feel like I am quite knowledgeable about the Rangers. So please be sure to check it out.
Yep, and I will speak to our Twitter admin as well and just get him to give that post to yours another nudge, because it was fantastic content, if I'm being honest. Told us an awful lot. The only problem was I was then trying to think of the questions I was going to ask, because you've answered quite a lot on there. Thank you very much for your time, Redian. It's been a real pleasure speaking to you, and you're good to go now. Thank you again.
Thank you very much for having me. It was my absolute pleasure, and thanks for everyone for tuning in. I can see you're quite active in the comments. It's just brilliant to see.
Thanks again, mate.
Thank you, man.
Okay, and now moving swiftly on. Hi, Billy.
Hello, mate. How are you?
I'm good. Actually, really nice just to have a bit of positivity, if I'm being honest.
It was nice to listen to. Yeah.
He sounds really enthused about the guy, and I guess given it's an Albanian footballer and that's his thing, there is going to be an element of that. But I think there was an awful lot in there that actually sounded quite encouraging, assuming that it comes to fruition. How do you feel after listening to that about Bajrami?
Well, obviously, I'm going to compare it to, would one of us go on an Albanian podcast and talk nicely about a Scottish player? Probably not. So maybe that says something about us rather than the players themselves. But yeah, I took some notes just listening to the questions you were asking him. One big thing, not being very injury prone, that's going to be, for a player in the position, that's going to be, an important part of that team. To have a player that's not going to break down every 2-3 games and then break down is good. I'll start with the worrying side, not worrying in any great deal, just it's been so positive. I wanted to bring it back a wee bit. Was that he doesn't cope too well with having so many kind of things put on him. So if Clement gives him too many jobs to do, it could be a problem for him. But everything else I heard was very positive. The being a team player and playing for the fans rather than being maybe like a previous number 10 who maybe played for himself more than anybody else.
Yeah.
That's a breath of fresh air from us, or for us, sorry. So that was a great thing. But I'm happy to go through the notes as I took them if you'd like, mate, or happy to discuss what you'd like.
Yeah, let's do that.
So the first thing that popped out was that he always kind of performs when he's needed. And too many times we've had players that play good against the smaller teams, but can't turn up in the Old Firm matches or the big European games. So that stood out to me as the big thing. What do you think?
100%. I mean, literally, we have just watched that show this weekend, and it's not the first time we've seen it, is it? It's players started really well, and then obviously they have that goal chalked off for offside, but it was almost like they retreated into their shells. There was almost a kind of fear about them at that point. If what Redian said there is accurate, that this guy will not retreat into a shell, he will stand up and be counted. And maybe just a few players with that mentality is enough that it impacts those around them. I think that's the key for me. I mean, the guy's 25, right? He's not a youth. So he could well be bringing that kind of experience in. And if that can infuse the others to, all right, it's a setback, let's just get our heads down and get on with it, I think that could be a game changer for us.
It was especially noticeable how missing that was on Saturday. Players that should have been experienced enough to go, right, okay, let's come on, lads, let's pull this together and be vocal on the park. But I never seen any of them really, apart from Tavernier moaning when he lost his marker and Maida scored. He moans at everybody else. That's fed up with this story. So I'd like someone to take ownership of the game, and if he has to drag the rest of the team with him, that's what we've really been needing. I'll move on to the next bit, because you did ask a couple of times about his best position.
Yeah.
So this number 10, you mentioned he played as a number 8, but also he plays he can play on the left hand side as an inverted winger. I'm hoping that he's, from what I'm hearing tonight, that he is out and out as a number 10. If that's what Clement wants to do in most of the games, hopefully he is the one that starts in that position and isn't getting moved, a square peg, round holes that we've seen the manager do with some players last season. Not his fault. It's not the squad he wanted, but he had to kind of do that.
Yeah, I think for me, and I mean, I've said this in the group chat, I've probably whinged about it on Twitter as well. For too long now, we've persevered with this 10, certainly this season, but arguably we haven't got someone that's got the quality and legs to play that position.
Mhm.
For me, I'm firmly with you. We've signed this guy as a 10. That's where I want to see him. I'm quite sure he is proficient in other roles, but then you almost end up in that sort of Sterling situation where you're moving about so much. Do you actually have your own kind of set defined role? We've put quite a significant outlay in this guy in our terms. I know, obviously they spent money on that new midfielder across the city, but for us, where we're at the minute, that is a significant outlay. And for me, we have to play him in his best position. And with that being a 10, it's doubly important because, to be blunt, we've got nobody else that can step up in those big games. Lawrence, I think, is fine against a Ross County. He wouldn't be my choice to start an Old Firm. And let's be honest, he clearly wasn't Clement's choice to start an Old Firm.
No, I know. He did say already, and did say that he's the kind of guy that's going to hit the ground running, which is great. He's should be when he's going to go away in international duty, which something will happen on that. I'll try and keep positive.
I've tried so hard not to say that.
I know, but if he can come back with another couple of games under his belt, he looks like he's one of the main men for them. Certainly, that's the way he's been talked about by Rydian there. So, not pacey, but knowing where to be at the right time. I think Doug made a comment. Sorry, I can't get the words out, about how McCoist had that great ability to just know where to be, rather than, he's not going to be a speed merchant, but he's got a footballing brain that means he'll be aware of how the play's going, and more often than not be in the right position to either finish off a cross or to put the kind of last ball through to someone else.
That's it. And I think again, we kind of talked about this on the review, but too often our players were pinging the ball about, and it was a Celtic player that was retrieving it. And I think a lot of that is down to kind of knowing where to be at the right time. And it's maybe something that we're lacking at times, is that person that just knows where to be. Just hope I don't get copyright striked for this, but I have got a clip that I want to ping up quickly. So let me just play this.
I'll see if Scott burns up my phone.
Aye, that's it, mate. That's it. If I get in trouble again, I'll just stop playing them. But this is him in that Italy game. So they play it up the pitch. Throw in. Fine. Look at him there. Just floats in at the back. Gets enough room. Hits the shot. By 3 seconds. Now,
there's another angle of that you seen on the TV at the time, where he's almost hiding behind the Italian defender as the throw in comes in, and then he just pounces, and it's a great finish, top of the net. I mean, I had no idea at the time when I was watching that game that we were going to be signing him. And to be honest, I don't even think I watched much of the game, other than you end up watching the beginning of them, and if it's it's maybe not your teams, you kind of go away and do something else. And I found that with the Euros, I never watched as much as I was expecting to. I watched a lot more of the World Cup previously, but it's just sometimes you're in that kind of mood. But back to him, it was great positional sense and a great finish of him, and hopefully we see that many times in a Rangers jersey.
Absolutely, and I think Baz is saying exactly the same here. It's, you don't have to be quick if you know where you need to be at the right time. If he can carry that on the Rangers journey, I think he'll be a very popular man, to be fair.
I mean, I hope he's probably is going to be a more skillful player than like the likes of Scott Arfield, who I'm not putting down. He was a good player for us, great player for us. Arfield knew when to make that run into the box and when to be there. I mean, that Aberdeen game when we came back and won 3-2 is a great example of it. So, if you get someone with that footballing brain that's going to come, just pop up at the right time, then we're on to having a good player.
No, not like Hadji, Doug. Hadji's no playing for us anymore, didn't you hear?
Well, I did like I liked a lot about what Rydian said, but very athletic, which I put along the lines of pace, but I guess that is different than if you've got the physicality to play in this league. That makes all the difference in that forward positions. We see Dessers is, I like him as a person. I even like him. I find having him as our striker, but as the only option to go to Parkhead with no other fans, has he got the right temperament to do that? Is he physical enough to do that? Well, hopefully. Bajrami is going to be an option, maybe not for centre forward, but at least someone to hold the ball up and be physical with them.
Yeah, and I think that's always a concern as well, isn't it? Is often enough players in Scotland will look at them and will say, maybe hasn't got the physicality here, would do well in like say Spain or in Italy. When you've got someone coming the other way and they're coming from that maybe less physical league, it is a concern. But from what he said, hopefully it shouldn't be too much of an issue.
If I can just reply directly to Doug, surely, Doug, you wouldn't have thought that Hadji is a physical player. I never thought he was a strong athletic player when he came. I thought he was very skillful, both feet, talented, but and he did have a good season in the 55 season. But is he physical enough for this league? That's Hadji I'm talking about.
Better be. We haven't even given this guy a chance to run him out yet. Jeez, oh. So what else did you? What else have you got there, Billy?
Well, as I say, the number 8 role's not his best, but he can. Ridian mentioned his best formation would be the 4-2-3-1, where he gets to play as the out and out number 10, but can function in the 4-3-3. I think Clement probably will more often than not play the 4-2-3-1, where he'll be the out and out number 10. I like that he mentioned that his Grasshoppers career and then on to that. I couldn't remember the next team he went to, but
Empoli.
yeah, so he made gradual progression upwards.
Yeah.
As you say, he's only 25, so that can still continue to go up the way. And then, he gets better with us. Disappointing. We probably wouldn't have got him at this price if he hadn't had a bad or a kind of not a big role last season, because the manager, as you were saying, or he was saying, didn't fancy him. So we just need to wait and see. We've on paper got a player that's suits this style of football, is the type of number 10 that we need, is physical, likes to score goals, likes to take shots from outside the box, he mentioned, doesn't need, a second invitation. As soon as he sees a space, he's willing to take a shot. And, that's, one of the Celtic goals at the weekend comes from that. So, sorry, two of the goals come from taking a shot outside the box. So, if we can maybe we did give Lawrence kind of credit for him trying it, and he's just not got enough, I think, of his game to be the out and out number 10. Tom Lawrence, just because he shoots on sight, isn't the only factor in this. Hopefully, we have another few different skill sets with Bajrami to add to the team. So again,
I think the key thing as well for Bajrami, from what he said, is it's not just that he shoots from outside the box, because obviously we have seen a few try that, but he's good at shooting from outside the box,
Yeah.
And too often we've seen players, sometimes later in games, chasing a goal, whatever, they get quite tense, they take the shot, but it's wild, it's well over the crossbar or way wide. I think if we can get someone doing that that's actually good at it and it is going to score goals from that, I think it could make a hell of a difference, especially when we're playing these low blocks domestically.
Because it gives the team something to think about. If they just think we're going to put it out the horseshoe formation, cross it in, their 9-foot defenders head it away. If they're going to be thinking, they might shoot here, then it leaves that level of kind of the unknown when we're attacking. If we're not always attacking in that same way that maybe we were under Gio, at times Gerrard as well, just putting out to the wings and have a Borna will cross it in. If you've got a player who can actually score an active play with not Tavernier scoring from a free kick, although he does sound like he likes to take a free kick as well, so gives us something else, another weapon in the arsenal, doesn't it? But having that unknown quantity of, they might shoot, or he might pass it out that way, or he might thread a ball through for one of the strikers to get onto. It's just having to beat this low block, you need more than one option, and we've been too often lately only having one option.
Yeah, agreed. What did you make of the fact that it doesn't sound like he's another kind of, I'm going to use the Scottish football as a stepping stone types? Sounds like he's quite kind of grounded. I'm not naive enough to say if an EPL club came in for him in a couple of years' time, offered him mega bucks, pretty sure he would go. But the fact that he's not come in specifically looking for that, do you think that'll help his case as well?
If an EPL club comes in for him next season, then we've had a fantastic player, haven't we?
Yeah.
So no harm if people, as much as Rangers are the biggest club in the world, to me, I understand that someone from Albania or Colombia or whatever is not going to necessarily feel the same. You do find that when they come here, they're astounded or they're taken aback with what they experience when they come to Ibrox, especially on European nights, Old Firm nights. These things are why players years after they leave still come back to dinners and events and talk up the team, and when we get to finals they're on Twitter and publicising us. I didn't get the impression we were a stepping stone. It looks like he's kind of stalled a little bit at his last club. I think, have they been relegated? So
Aye.
Redian talked about how they were surprised he didn't go to another team, another bigger Italian team. So I mean, if that was an option for him, you've got to kind of applaud him for coming over here and trying with us, and hopefully, if that is a motive for him, I've certainly not suspected that, but you can never tell if players want to come to us as a stepping stone to a bigger league. He could have went back to a bigger league with Italy or Spain. So I think his motivation is, as I say, to play for the fans and to play for the big atmospheres, the big events, the big nights. He must have been aware to a run to Seville and seen those videos. You've got to think at least now he's seen them, and that will get his hairs in the back of his neck up to experience that himself.
Aye, that's it. I mean, he's got every opportunity to, hasn't he? Coming in this stage of the season, fit and ready to go, apparently. Touch wood, nothing happens to him on international duty. Not long in the European Games, in fact, start. One thing I did want to mention, not strictly about him, but we'll just make it about him. So he's not going to have to play at Hampden unless it's a cup semi-final or a final. What
That
did
was
you
good
make of
news,
that news,
wasn't it?
Billy? Yeah.
Yeah, it's great. I got it. I just to stop off at Tesco on the way back before coming here, and I got the. I don't know if it was Scotty that broke it in the chat, but there was a multitude of messages afterwards. So it looks like is that the cup game we're going to be back at.
So it's the Dundee Cup game.
Dundee Cup game.
3 stands. Okay.
Which is fine. I mean, just getting back there is going to be the main thing. Would it have sold out at Hampden anyway? I'm not so sure. It's going to be on the TV. There's already a noticeable decline in the attendances at Hampden. This might be hard to get a ticket for if it's only going to be in the 30,000s now, which is a great thing because the atmosphere is going to be good, and it's going to be great to get back to the full capacity. Hopefully the following week.
Aye, 100%, mate. I'll be quite interested to see once they've finished as well what it looks like, because I mean we've not heard otherwise. So I think the expectation is that very similar work is at the minute expected to happen next close season as well. Hopefully they make sure the steel's here before they kick off. But
they certainly need to put something in place that they've got all the supplies that they need actually on the footprint of Ibrox before they start or before they go ahead with anything, because it's going to be hard to kind of look at it at this point in the season, but we may look back on the season and think, was that a main contributing factor playing at Hampden and not Ibrox that we're not in the Champions League, or at least in the next stage of the Champions League? We've not dropped any points at Hampden, but there's certainly been, it's added to the ill will towards the board, which is not helping. So
it's that kind of general feel as opposed to specific issues, isn't it? It's just kind of all bundled together into one big huge issue now. Okay. So to be honest, we've gone through the interview. I think we've covered off the questions. Are you looking forward to seeing him play? And I know that's not the best to host questions, but I guess what I mean is, now that you've heard a bit more about him, are you kind of more excited to see him play?
Definitely 100% in that. And I'm hoping we get him starting games after the international break, and it's not one of these, Igaman, we're waiting weeks and weeks to get him in the team. At least he's in the team now as well, and hopefully he's going to go away and play in international games. He's going to be match fit. He just needs to go in the team. We need a player to hit the ground running.
Yeah. I think that's it for me. One, we need him to hit the ground running, and two, I'm hopeful that he can strike up. From everything we're hearing about his mentality and his attitude, I'm hoping he can strike up quite a good rapport with the fans quite quickly.
And that he gets that attitude rubs off on a few others.
Would be lovely.
Hopefully his English is good and he can shout at the players.
I think there's a couple that need shouted at, to be fair. Well, thank you very much for joining me, Billy. Pleasure as always.
Thanks for having me on, Dave. What have we got on this week? We've got a Q&A show this week, Rangers news, squad review, where we are at the moment after the window's closed. all these things I think Kai's already put out on Twitter. If not, just check out our YouTube page and the live section to see when these videos go out. I was going to mention the stadium, but you've done that already, mate. So I think that was the only thing. Thank you everyone for watching this afternoon, this evening, whatever you call 6 o'clock at night. And thank you for liking and subscribing. Nearly at that 2,000 subscribers, which is a great milestone to be at so young in our kind of journey on this podcast travel. So thanks for having me on, Dave. Well done with the interview.
Thank you. To be honest, I think Redian made it very, very easy, in fairness. No, really good. Enjoyed that. Looking forward to seeing Bajrami play. I guess since we can't give you the time, folks, you'll just need to go and subscribe to the channel, turn those notifications on, and you will find out exactly when we're going to be live. But thank you for watching tonight. Appreciate it as always. Just remember, every night is a Rangers Journal night.